Hello and welcome to a demonstration of the PFM Manager software and how it relates to the management of wraparound care. My name's Mandy. I'll just be running through this demo with you. On this system then, we have the ability to set up all sorts of different before and after school provision, holiday provision, etc. First thing I'll just mention is that the system automatically does a daily synchronization with Sims or Integris Progresso, whichever you're using, so that all the information on the pupils, but also the parents, the contact information, all the medical information that's important, is automatically synchronized into the system, and you don't need to do that. So it's always up to date, providing us with information if we ask that's appropriate. What we have to do then here on the system is decide which accounts, so cost centres or nominal accounts we're going to use, which relate to the different types of wraparound provision we offer. So I've got a list of a few. I've got an after school club, I've got a before or a breakfast school club. You might have holiday clubs, you might have nursery sessions, you might have different rooms. If I was going to set up, I'll just do a holiday club for summer 18. I simply type in a kind of logical code. As you can see, I've kept it short and snappy, and for me it sums up and tells me what this is. So I'm going to have a full name of Holiday Club Summer 2018. And if I want to, I can allocate a responsible person. And what I need to do is tell the system that this is an account that needs to know each of the individual pupils involved, who comes when, how much they pay, etc. Over on the right, I tick a little box to say that this is based on attendance, and I pick some or all of the children who are coming to the holiday club. I have a very small list. I've only got 8 people on my database. You, of course, would have a much bigger one, and you could filter it by class, or you can type in the first couple of letters of a person's name and it will jump alphabetically to them. So I've set up the holiday club, and at the moment I've said these 8 people are coming. How many of these is up to you. You might choose just to have a single code called Breakfast Club. You might have a different one for each term, Breakfast Club Summer 18, Autumn 18, etc. The benefit of that is simply that you can keep the attendance separate, you can keep the debtors separate, and you can see each term in turn what the income, the expenditure, etc. was. But it's entirely up to you. Some people will have lots of different nursery sessions on here as separate cost codes. Some people have different rooms that they operate within their wraparound system, and so they have a red room or a green room, and so then you can see specifically for that room who's coming, who's paid, how long they're staying, etc. Up to you how many or how few you have. Once we've set these codes up, we then of course need to record attendance, and that's one of these menus up at the top left called ABC. ABC, we then get to choose which one we're interested in. I'm going to go for the whole sum. And as you can see, it's a very simple register with boxes under each day for each of the children, and we simply tick attendance. This can be done in arrears or it can be done in advance. Let's start by putting the cost per session on. So I'm going to say this is not an hourly thing. This is you either come or you don't come, and if you come, you pay the full £10. I can then go down and say that Sasha and Sophie are coming on Mondays. As you can see, it's gone for the default £10. If I untick those to a minute, maybe Sasha and Sophie get a reduction as their siblings, and they might be able to just pay £7.50. So I can actually change the price for individual pupils if that's appropriate. But when I return to Cooper Alexander, he goes back to the default charge. If you want to, some people can have one day that's free, so I've changed it to 0, and then I put it back to the £10 for the next 2 days. So if you've got nursery sessions, for example, where first 15 hours are free or whatever it might be, you have lots of flexibility to pick and choose here. So I'll just put a few ticks in. So this is obviously just 1 week. It's Monday the 9th of April, Monday to Friday. If you have a situation where someone is booking up for a whole term or a whole half term, or in our case, a whole of a holiday period, rather than having to do the ticks again, up at the top right hand corner, there's a button to copy it to the next week and the next week and the next week, as far as you like. If in any one of those weeks we're not working on the Wednesday, then we just go and untick the Wednesday. If one of the days is a bank holiday, we just go and untick. So we end up, and as you can see, all the default charges are carried through, we end up with the correct ticks and charging if we're going to do it in advance. You obviously don't need to do that if you're just recording attendance as it happens and seeing who's paid and who hasn't. Down at the bottom left, there's an option to print registers. So if I wanted to register for the whole of this week for the holiday club, I just click on print register, and as you can see, it comes up with all the pupils. It comes up with greys where they're not meant to be attending, medical notes on the far right hand side. The asterisks just indicate these are pupil premium children. Or I can right click the button and choose to print just 1 day at a time. So if I'm just interested in who's coming on a Monday, it pops that list up. It's got an exit for an exit time in case you need to charge for extra hours. If I go to one of my codes, because I've got a few, I also have an after school club which I've set up slightly differently, and this is I've set one up as an hourly charge. Let me show you where. Back on where I set up my accounts, there's an option over here to say you don't just pay for an entire session, you pay for hourly, and it's the one that says ABCH. So when I choose that particular code in my register area, it comes up with the cost per hour rather than the cost per session. So let's make that £3. It also asks me generally, what do people attend? How many hours? Is it 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours, whatever it might be. With this then, when I record attendance, either in arrears or in advance, when I click on it, it simply adds the number 2 in here. I can then, if I want to, say no, they only stayed for 1 hour. But the default that I've set up at the top is 2, so that's what it's coming up with. Just as before, if we don't want them to pay £3 an hour, if it's only £2.50, we just change it in the middle column. So 222, and as I say, if it's not 2 hours, we just change the 2 to a 3. So that's how we deal with hourly sessions. And again, if you've got a situation where someone gets their first 10 hours for free and then they start paying, then we just use the default section in the middle to indicate when it goes from a 0 to a payable situation. Same button at the top right to copy it through to the next week as we looked at before. Same option for registers. So that's how we set up people's attendance. What that does then is updates the accounts to reflect that they owe that amount of money, but it can also be used to produce invoices. If you do want to produce invoices, it's an invoicing tab, the third one across. And we could pick, let's say, our summer holiday code. We can put in a product code, which would be summer club fees. And over on the right here, we get to pick the date range that this is to cover. So if you were doing this for after school club, you could choose to do it monthly, termly, half-termly, simply by changing the date range. And any notes you want, you put in here, such as how to pay, when they have to pay, bring in lunches, bring in a sun hat, whatever you want. This will all appear on the printed invoice. To create the invoice, it's one of these tabs that's just called Create Invoice. We tick the club we're interested in. There's a button at the bottom right to create invoices, and it tells me I'm about to create them. And when I look on the tab called Print Invoices, here they all are at the top. Let's just look at one in turn. I'll look at Miss Rose by viewing it. This is how your invoice comes up. They're designed to fit on invoice paper, which we provide to you on a Word template. So you can change that, put in your logo, your address, the colours you want, and this will print perfectly on it. It has a date, a sequential number, the total cost for the date range, and it tells you the date range, and all those notes that we talked about the putting on. So whether or not you choose to do an invoice is up to you. In both situations, when we look at the screen inquiries area, which is where we can look up any information, I'm going to look at a section called Pupil Reports, and I'm going to choose the Holiday Club. What can I find out? Well, all of these buttons give me information, but some useful ones at the bottom left. The payments received show me the amount of money due for each person. At the moment, it only goes up to the 11th of April, which is today. But if I were to say, actually, show me that information right up to the end of the summer holiday period, then it obviously is bigger numbers. So it's the money that will totally be due by the date that I've chosen. So we've got all the different amounts owing for all the different children based on their attendance. If that turns out to be wrong, obviously you can go back. I can go back to my after school club and I can untick the ticks. The yellow indicates that an invoice has been raised, but it's no problem. You can still change it to either an absent but they still pay, and I'm just clicking, or C for a credit note. So you can go back and change the ticks even if they have already been invoiced for this information. Just while we're here, I'm going to show you a button called Attendance Record, which allows me to pick one or all students, pick my date range, whatever it might be, and do a lovely report of when a person attended, how much that's cost them, and how much they've paid so far. This is showing me that they had a balance of overpayment to start with. They've attended some times, they've paid some money, and they still have overpaid. Let's have a little look at the Holiday Club, and we'll do an attendance record. I'm going to use just the same person for now, and I'm going to go same date range. And on this one, as you can see, they now have not paid anything. There was no brought forward figure, and so currently this person owes us £52.50. How do we take their money? Well, that's in an area of the software called Transaction Entry. I'm just going to take those off by deleting. So how do we take money? Well, for that Holiday Club, we type in the first bit of the code, click on all, and it shows me all the pupils who owe me money for the Holiday Club, how much down the right hand side. And I can go through saying, well, Sasha has paid £20 in cash towards her £52.50. So has Sophie. My friend James has paid the full £70, and this is his cheque number. And the only other person is Louisa, has paid me £30, and this is their cheque number. Click on the Finished button, and those appear on my banking screen, some cash, some cheque. I can leave that there until I'm ready to do a banking. I might have a bit of after school club money that also goes into the same banking. Exactly the same then, amounts outstanding down the side, how much they've paid, if it's cash or cheques. Don't put an entry in if they haven't paid. And then when we're ready, we can print receipts if we want to, either proper little receipt printers or onto an A4 sheet of paper. But when we're ready, we can bank that information, get a nice report out of who's paid, what it was for, and whether it was cash and cheques, and we can print that up. Screen goes blank because we've now done a banking. There's also an option under direct receipts to put on childcare vouchers in exactly the same way. And we have a facility where it will do a bank feed. So if you've got parents who would like to pay straight into your school bank account rather than having to bring cash and cheques in, then they can do so, and our system will read that information in. They may choose to put an appropriate code in the reference that we provide to them, in which case the system will literally know who the money is from, or it might be the first time you do a bank read that you have to say, oh yeah, this, anytime we get money from this person, it needs to go to this particular pupil. So we've got that automatic link if you prefer the cash and cheques option. Lots of other entries. We of course have an option for making payments out of the system. So if we need to pay something out for the holiday club, £100, and I'll say that's refreshments, that can all be made out using the payment section, and you can do handwritten cheques, printed cheques, cash, or link into the back system. And we've got options for transfers, which is journaling information between students or between accounts, and of course a full bank reconciliation if appropriate, which is simply a ticking system for the items on the computer to tie up to the items on your paper statement. And then we end up with a full range of reports. So we have, of course, a full range of financial reports. On our financial reports, then we have income and expenditure or profit and loss type report. So each of my different clubs or sessions, what we started with, money in, money out, and what we currently have in each one. We have a summary balance sheet which breaks that money down between the different bank accounts or the cash tins, and then we have a full balance sheet, full audit trail, full trial balance, all of those for term end, month end or year end. But in addition, we have reports, for example, in this area, where we can pick just one pupil and we can see all the money that one pupil has paid into the system. We can pick up one of our specific clubs, such as the holiday club, and we can get a summary statement of all the money in, all the money out, and therefore what our current balance is for the summer holiday club. Or we can look specifically at one club and get lots of information out. So for example, we can get debtor reports that tell us everyone who owes money for the holiday club. We can change the dates on that, so we can look forward and say who owes us money for the next month or the next term, etc. We've got contact lists and attendance lists and address labels and medical lists, lots of information, and we've got a built-in email and or letter writing system which uses hash codes as a form of mail merge, and we can send that to people who owe a certain amount of money or just for general information. So it's a fully a full accounting system if you want it to be. If you want to put payments, do bank reconciliations, produce full financial and other reports, all of that is available in here. So that's a fuller overview of the system. If you'd like more information or you'd like to talk about how that would relate in your school, please do give us a call. It's ISTech UK or drop us an email. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.